All right, thank you. Good evening. I'm Michelle Rehill. I am the chairperson of the Northborough Library Board of Trustees. The open meeting, this open meeting of the Board of Library Trustees is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Board of Library Trustees are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Board of Library Trustees to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mitch Cohen.
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Jim Hogan. Can you unmute, please, Jim?
Here.
Thank you. Hamilton Soriano.
Here.
Nita Karanjkar.
Here.
Jocelyn McElhenney, not present yet. Charles Recchia.
Present.
Joan Scott is not here by notice. Richard Tucker.
Here.
I'm Michelle Rehill. I am present. Also present staff members tonight, Deborah Hirsch.
Here.
Katrina Ireland.
Here.
And of course, the handsome David Kane, who is helping us as our host.
Here.
Thanks. Let's see, the meeting ground rules. The chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. And each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by roll call vote. Having said all that, I think that this is a fairly informal board, and I will not be offended if we act as if we are in the same room, provided everybody gets a chance to speak if they need to. We will now proceed with the agenda for the meeting. So we are officially called to order at 7:04 p.m. And welcome everyone. The agenda doesn't look that big, but we have a few things to talk about tonight. So I will move on to the approval of the minutes from the June 9th, 2020 meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the June 9th minutes as presented?
Michelle, I have one adjustment. I apologize for not bringing it up earlier. As you mentioned at the opening of the meeting, votes need to be taken by roll call. For the motion at the last meeting on the budget statement regarding Thursday hours, the vote was properly taken by roll call, but that was not reflected in the meeting minutes. And it needs to be included that way. I just spotted it about 2 minutes ago.
Spotted that 2 minutes ago. Okay, wait.
I see what you're saying, Mitch, and I can easily correct that.
Great.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, so do we vote to accept the minutes as amended to reflect the roll call vote?
Be delighted to make that motion.
All right. And do I have a second?
I second.
All right. All right, now we will have a roll call vote. All those in favor, accept the minutes. Mitch Cohen,
Aye.
Jim Hogan,
Aye.
Hamilton Soriano,
Aye.
Nita Karanjkar,
Aye.
Jocelyn.
Aye.
Charles.
Aye.
Joe, I have to put a line here. Richard Tucker.
Aye.
All right, and I vote aye. So the motion carries unanimously to accept the minutes as amended to reflect the roll call vote. Next up on the agenda is the financial report. Kate submitted this. It is up to date. It is the final agenda, the final appropriations report. They have dealt with all of the outstanding invoices, and the books are officially closed. So the numbers that you see on there are the final numbers. There will be no further changes to those. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments. I personally would like to say, I think you did a pretty good job. The staff has done a pretty good job of spending down what they could. The book periodicals and non-print media, nice job, well done. And I understand that there are some line items where there is a balance, but simply because we were not in the building, we did not have people in the building. So some money will be going back to the town, but the money that was really important for us to spend got spent, I think. Does anyone have a question or a comment? Seeing none, we will move past the appropriations report and go on to I really have to check things off. Reports, updates from trustees and library staff. I know I inundated you with a lot of paper, but I wanted the different departments to be able to report and, just to give us an update, because it's been so long. We haven't been able to go into the library, and there's a lot that's been happening since we've allowed people to start returning materials and doing the curbside pickup. So I really wanted us all to have some idea of what's happening there, even though people aren't going in. So does anyone have any comments about any of the reports or any questions? We have Deborah and Katrina here tonight. So if you have any questions, I'm sure they will be happy to answer those questions. But if you don't have any comments or questions about any of the reports, there was one that I sent you, hopefully late, about the pop-up library that will allow us to do some, because we can't open the building for people to go in to browse yet. We as a municipality aren't quite ready. And if one of the librarians wants to speak to that a little bit, I don't think most of the other libraries in the area feel that they are ready to open their doors for browsers yet. So as a way to kind of at least get more people, the curbside pickup is going really well. Yes. I've been, kind of watching that. I do have to go in and sign things, and I walk by the library every day. So I see the people pulling up and getting their bags of books out at the table outside the door. So that seems to be going really well. But to expand the opportunity so that people can actually see the books occasionally, take a look at them, and then borrow them. they have started, so there was the thing for the pop-up library. Did you all get to see that and read that report? Do you have any questions about that? I know it's a work in progress. It still needs some more, that it needs more detail, a little more fleshing out, kind of, some thought about how that works out. And there are some steps that have to be gone through to make sure that we're complying with what the town wants us to do, and like the Board of Health and all that jazz, right? Board of Health, I think that was the one. So if you have questions or comments about that, any of the trustees or either of our staff members who are present. Yes, Jocelyn.
Making sure the raise hand works. I don't have a question, but 2 comments. One, the curbside pickup has been phenomenal. I've used it a couple times myself, and it's so easy that I've actually messed it up because it is so simple. So I appreciate all the work that went into making it seamless. So thank you to the staff and everybody that keeps that going. And for the pop-up library, I think that this is a wonderful idea for 2 reasons. One, yes, anything we can do to continue to expand the access is going to be phenomenal to the community. And 2, moving it outside, there has been such an increase in outdoor activity the longer that we are kind of stuck in our homes, that moving some of the library outdoors, I think, is a great way. We're always looking, how can we bring the library more into the community? This feels like exactly the right way to try to do it, obviously with all the appropriate safety precautions for the staff and the community. But this really feels like a great idea and the right time to do it.
All right. Does anybody else have a question?
I wanted to say essentially exactly the same thing. I love this idea. I love the initiative. I think it's fantastic. People are, as a parent, we're trying to get our kids outside as much as possible, given that there's not a lot to do. So I'm looking forward to participating in this as well as seeing it done. So thank you to the staff who put this together.
Okay. I would request that somebody, if someone were willing, we don't officially need to make this a motion, but I really want to get it down that this is a concept that we want the staff to pursue. So recognizing that this is just the first pass, it's a draft, it's the first step in figuring out how to do pop-up library. Would somebody make a motion supporting the concept of the pop-up library and asking the library staff to, continue to work it out and move forward? I don't want them to have to come back to the board for a vote on this down the road. I want them to be able to know that as they're working it out, and that they're, the thought is maybe some baby steps. Start with it just at in the library parking lot first. That was one of the comments they made. I don't want them to have to wait, because chances are we will not meet again until September, unless something really amazing happens really quickly. We will not meet until September. So is someone willing to make a motion to request or to have the library staff work on the pop-up library?
Michelle, I'm happy to make that motion and move to make a statement of support from the board to a pop-up library and ask the staff continue to move in that direction.
Okay, and do I have a second on that?
Yeah, I would second that. Yeah.
Cool, second.
Charles?
Yeah.
All right. Again, back to my roll call vote. I'm so glad I remembered to print out the list of trustees so that I could have a place to just write these down. Regarding the pop-up library, Mitch,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Nita,
Aye.
Jocelyn,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
Joan is not here, Richard,
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Excellent. The motion passes unanimously.
This
Thank
is
you.
Deborah speaking, and I just wanted to thank all of you for the support. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe we can get something happening within the next couple of weeks. As Michelle mentioned, Katrina and I kind of come in at a little bit different angles, and I'll let Katrina speak to her idea. But because of the way our hours are now, and I think because people are starting to physically return to work, I'd like to try to do something to reach our adult population, more towards like early evening, like around 6, 7 o'clock in the library parking lot, to give people an opportunity coming home from work, drive by the library, pick up a bestseller type of situation. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. And then I'll let Katrina tell you what she's thinking.
At least initially, I'm thinking of using the system that we've already set in place for the summer reading program, where kids and families come to the side door, the children's door, and we can just bring a table out and set everything up. We've got the sidewalk chalk on the sidewalk already for social distancing purposes. So, and actually, the day that I put together that document, several other librarians, youth librarians, put that out on the listserv that we're all a part of. So it's in our collective brain, and one children's librarian has already done it successfully and shared her line by line steps and policies and procedures with us. So we have a good working template to start, building our own policy and procedure off of.
That's excellent.
So somebody has done a lot of the work for you.
Mhm. And they said it was wildly successful. They took it actually to one of their elementary schools. This is in Norwood. And for their first session, they had 75 families come and borrow
Wow.
materials. And they said everybody was awesome in terms of social distancing and maintaining space and being respectful and responsible about it. So they had great success. And I expect that our community would also would do the same thing.
I think people will be really excited. Oops. I just closed the document. I shouldn't have. Sorry. So thank you for your comments, and thank you for coming up with this idea and being willing to do that. And the document that you drafted for us is really pretty, to me, super duper. Sorry, I'm printing something. All of the stuff I sent out to you,
Oh, no.
I forgot to print one of the things that I might need. So fixing that one. Are there any other comments from the staff members? You can just shake your head if you have nothing. You have nothing? Okay, great. As the chairperson, I'm going to be the trustee who speaks. If other people have something to say, you can chime in later. But first and foremost, and somebody already did, I've heard this from you in different ways. Huge thank you to the library staff for working under these bizarre conditions and being flexible and thinking about new ways to do things, and for having your customer base, your community front and center in your mind, and working to do that, and doing it with, having, Chris leave. It's that job that he has, what a great opportunity for him. But that made it difficult for all of you. And I appreciate that, the library staff has continued to work together and kind of, just keep it together and keep the library moving forward. I do have a couple of other updates before I hog the whole floor. Is there anything that any of the other trustees would like to say regarding anything? Any comments, any questions?
I'll piggyback on your comments, Michelle. And I know that my dad would be thrilled if he could jump in on this call, because the curbside pickups that I've done have been for him. Getting books on CD is one of the few things that he still really enjoys doing, and having that available again. The pickup I did the other day, I managed to pick up 8 books, and he must have called me 4 times to thank me and say that it was like Christmas. So, instead of just from me, a voice of the customer, that you have a very, very happy customer in a former trustee who is now singing your praises every time he loads a book into a CD player. So that's who you're helping. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jocelyn. Does anybody else have anything they would like to say? Because I have a couple of things to talk about. First, we are moving forward with the library director search. There has already been an ad was placed. We have already gotten some responses to the ads for the opening, and they are, so things are starting to come in, and apparently whatever's coming in, that we have a recruiter, a consulting recruiter, the person who helped to hire the senior center director is working on that. And we've gotten word through John Codere that he's feeling pretty good about some of the applicants who are showing up. The one thing that they have not been able to do is find an interim library director. So I'll deal with that in a little bit. But there is, related to the search for the library director, the last time we did this, when we hired Chris, we had an interview committee that was composed of the chair and the vice chair of the library trustees, 2 library staff members, the president of the Friends, a citizen, just a general representative for the town, and the town administrator. And I would propose that we use the same format again. If somebody out there thinks that's not fair, or you would like to complain or have a discussion about that, I'm willing to listen. But if you are willing to accept that, then that we will go forward with that. And they are expecting to start reading resumes. I'm sorry, I had to double check the date. They think they will be looking at things around August 5th. They should be ready to start reading resumes and selecting people to have them come in to interview. So, questions, concerns? Nothing there? Alrighty then. Oh, Jim, you're on mute. Jim, did you have something to say?
Just,
Okay.
if you could, at some point, just email me the positions that you just outlined, the people who would be on this committee.
I would be happy to do that. I
Thank
will
you.
make a note.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Let's see if I've forgotten anything else. We are supposed to, I think that those were the big things that I wanted to deal with under just reports and updates from us. Again, does anybody have anything? I know it's hard to, you know, I guess it's hard to say, oh yeah, we're subcommittees working on such and such, because nobody's working on anything because we're not allowed to. So, but I just keep wanting to like double check, make sure everybody's okay.
Michelle,
Yes.
this is Deborah speaking. I wanted to just get a clarification about the way the search committee will get formed. Is this something that you as trustees would approach individual staff to see if they would want to be on it? Or would you like us to say who among the staff would like to? For example, I served the last time and I don't need to do it again. I'm happy to give somebody else the opportunity. So just wanted to know the process that you were
Yes,
saying.
thank you for reminding me. I was going to say something about that. I am going to let the staff decide who would like to do that. So if the staff can talk about it. I know you did mention when I was wandering through with my magic pen to sign bill schedules, you had mentioned that you were not interested in being on that interview committee. So I will leave it up to the staff to discuss. And I believe last time you, Deb, and was it Julie? You and Julie were, so
Yes, that's correct.
it, whoever really, really wants to do this, that they are welcome.
Well, that's kind of how I feel, Michelle. I did it the last time, so I want to make sure that if somebody else really wants to participate, they can.
Okay. All right. So thank you for reminding me of that. I'm making a note. I will also email officially and say, hey, you guys do this. Thank you for your patience. All right, then we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the proposed statement from the board regarding the departure of Library Director Christopher Lindquist. Oh, and the search for the new library director. Oh, I was supposed to tell you about that there. Silly me, I gave my report under updates from the trustees. So you did get in the reams of paper that I sent out, well, not reams of paper, the multitude of emails, the statement that we had regarding Chris's decamping for greener pastures, no, for a shorter commute. I don't know that I need to read it into the minutes, but because this is something that you plan to put into, you library staff, sorry, Katrina and Deborah, are planning to put into the newsletter. So if everyone has seen the statement and you agree, Mitch was kind enough to draft that for us. And I thought that it was very well done. It's very nice. And so if you think that this is okay, I think I need a motion to accept that, that we will pass this over to the library staff for them to use in the newsletter on behalf, it's representing the library trustees. So can I have a motion to accept the statement, or does anyone have any comments, discussion about the statement as written? All right, seeing none. Can I get a motion to accept the statement from the trustees regarding the
I'll
departure?
move that we accept the statement as written concerning the departure of Christopher Lindquist as library director.
Thank you, Richard. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jocelyn. All right, so all those in favor, wait, I can't do that anymore. Let me get out my little tally sheet. Mitch Cohen,
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Jim. You're supposed to unmute, please, sorry. I saw you say aye. Oh, nope, it didn't work. One click.
There you are.
All
Says
right.
mute.
Well, yeah, when you click it, it says mute, but it's unmuted. It's like mute is what you can do next.
Like listening to Trump.
Hey, remember, we're being recorded and played live. Hamilton,
Aye.
Nita,
Aye.
Jocelyn,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
Jones, right here, Richard,
Aye.
and the chair also votes aye. The motion carries unanimously to accept the statement regarding the departure of Library Director Christopher Lindquist. for publication in the library's newsletter. All righty. Now we come to the part that I've just been all at Twitter about, because I can't imagine how this will go. I'm very nervous. I've been out campaigning. The next item on the agenda is the report of the nominating committee, their presentation for the slate of offices for FY21. Did you all receive that document? I got that. I did it. All right. So does one of the members of the nominating committee wish to present, say who the list of offices are, or do you want me to just read it? Because we will have to vote on this.
I'll say who they are.
Hmm?
I'll say who they are.
Okie dokie, cool.
Just that we met on June 9th, 2020. That would be Joan, Jocelyn, and myself, after having been appointed to the committee by the chair. And we discussed the four positions that were open. And after discussion, we voted, and the results of those votes were as follows. We would present to the board as our selection for the chair, Michelle Rahill, for vice chair, Mitch Cohen, for treasurer, Hamilton Soriano, and for secretary, Jim Hogan.
All right. So that is the report. And we, in our normal non-COVID world, what we would normally do is at one meeting appoint the nominating committee. At the next meeting, they would present the slate of officers, and then at the following meeting, they would vote on the officers. We missed the meetings that led up to this, so we have been presented with the slate. Oh, a question, point of procedure. Should we, as a committee, or does the subcommittee vote to accept those minutes? Do we need to accept those minutes? Because it's part of the open meeting law is that nominating committees need to be also public. And these are the minutes of that. So I think we need to have a motion to accept the minutes, vote on that, and then we need to vote on whether or not to accept the slate of officers. Does that need to be 2 votes or 1? Anyone?
So if I could chime in with my open meeting law hat, there was no meeting posted for now for the nominating committee. So the nominating committee would be the one, if the minutes were approved, to go through that process. But then you end up with this endless cycle, because then you're posting a meeting and you have to accept those minutes. So typically what committees do is when they have no further business, they just sort of publish the draft meeting minutes as if they were approved. And if you wanted to, this entire body, which the nominating committee essentially reports to through you, could approve them if you wanted to. But I would not see that as absolutely necessary, as long as there was sort of verbal consensus during this meeting from the members who happen to be members of the nominating committee.
Okay, so those 2 present are Richard and Jocelyn, and so you think it's okay? The minutes are okay as presented. So I would say that we will then move to vote for the slate of officers. Well, for or against. You may vote against that if, if anybody's, gunning for this chair. Not my literal chair, because I'll fight you for that one, but can I have a motion to vote?
I think you may want to ask if there's any discussion
Is there,
of the trustees about the slate.
is there any discussion among the trustees regarding the slate of officers as presented?
There you go.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the slate of officers as presented. And then we need a second, right? Because we have to vote for these people.
I'll second it.
Wait, who moved?
You did.
Hmm?
I thought you just did.
As the chairperson, I rarely ever,
Okay, I'll move that we accept the minutes of the nomination committee and the slate of officers that were voted upon therein. We move to accept them.
all right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Go with Jim on that one. All right, and again, a roll call. Mitch,
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Jim. Hope you have.
Aye.
Thank you. Hamilton,
Aye.
Nita,
Aye.
Jocelyn,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
Joan is not here, Richard,
Aye.
and the chair also votes aye. So the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations to my fellow officers. It was a pleasure campaigning with you. All right. Okay, here's the any other business that may come before the board. We had late breaking development today. I did not have an opportunity to get this to you, and I really thought perhaps you would not want even one more email message from me. After discussions with the town administrator, I mentioned earlier that the recruiter has not been getting anyone that they felt would be a positive influence as an acting or interim library director. So after discussions with John and with the professional librarians on staff, it is my pleasure to recommend to you, because I will need a vote on this, to recommend to you Deborah Hirsch as the acting library director until such time as a new library director is hired. So unless, does anyone want to discuss this? We'll tell Deborah to block her ears or something. So no, just kidding.
I'm very glad to hear about this. I really am. I was actually going to bring up the concern of not having an acting or interim at this time. So I'm glad you broke into it before I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it really was a kind of a long process. I was initially frustrated because I kept asking and asking and asking and wasn't getting an answer. And I now understand that there was a lot going on behind the scenes. The recruiter really was working very hard, reached out to many places to try to bring in an acting director, interim director, and just was not satisfied with the people who were available as interim. And so they finally came back and said, okay, we know what you need to do it. They wanted to make sure that they covered all the bases before they did anything. So we are at that point. So if somebody would like to make a motion that we, as a board, appoint Deborah Hirsch as the acting library director, I would be happy to have someone make that motion.
I so move.
All right, thank you,
Second.
Jocelyn. Who seconds that one?
That was Mitch.
That was Mitch. All right. One more roll call. All those in favor. Oh, I'm sorry. In favor, Mitch Cohen.
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Aye. Jim Hogan.
Aye.
Hamilton Soriano,
Aye.
make it all legal. Nita Karanjkar,
Yes, I.
Jocelyn McElhenney,
Definitely yes.
definitely aye. All right, Charles.
Aye.
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 Joan Scott is not here. Richard Tucker,
Aye.
and the chair, Michelle Rehill, also votes aye. The motion passes unanimously.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, and I hope this won't be a long appointment. But I do feel it's really important to keep the continuity going, and I want to just keep us afloat and going in the right direction so I can hand over a nice, pretty package for our new director.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the work that you've already been doing. You and like the whole library staff really has been doing a wonderful job keeping the library
staff.
out. But you know, I know I've relied a little heavily on you as kind of the point person, and I appreciate that. So I'm very happy to have you filling in as that role. I feel better. I'm going to sleep better tonight. I know I am. And all of your email boxes will be less cluttered because I know Deborah will do a much better job of gathering up. And Deborah will be able to do a library report instead of me having to go to everyone and say, please tell me what's going on. So that was my big announcement that I've sort of been bouncing around in my seat, waiting to get to this point to tell you. And then I got so excited about it, I lost my agenda.
All that's left is adjournment.
Well,
Just saying.
just saying. No, I do want to state that unless we need to take some kind of action sooner than September, the next trustees meeting will be on Tuesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. If for some reason we need to do something with regard to it, not that I expect this to happen, but if we have to do something with regard to the library director position or some other emergency comes up, we'll call it a meeting sooner, but unless there is a need for it, September 8th, 7 p.m. is the next meeting of the trustees. So with that, I believe that brings me to the end of the agenda. And unless somebody else has other real business that urgently needs to be brought up now, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Would anyone like to be the one to make that motion? But you all just want to stay here? Nobody.
A motion to adjourn.
Second. I
Thank
feel like I made all the motions tonight. I didn't want to do that one too.
Okay. Well, and guess what? We have to have one more roll call vote to adjourn. I want desperately to start meeting in the same, all of us in the same room, because having to do roll calls is probably current bane of my existence. Adjourn, a vote to adjourn. Mitch,
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Nita,
Yes, I.
Start, Jocelyn,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
Joan, Richard,
Aye.
and the chair, Michelle Rehill, also says aye. The meeting is adjourned at 7:45 p.m. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer. And hey, remember, curbside pickup at the library. They're awesome. Thank you.
Hello. Good night.
Good
Good to see
night.
everybody.
Night.
Night, everybody. Great.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
And
Good
Mr.
night.
Kane, we're done.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The button.
Thank you for being our host, David. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Get my cursor back over here.